Hello there guys, and welcome to another one of my reviews. As you already noticed, today we are changing things up a little bit. This isn't the first time I am going to present the EQS from Mercedes EQ on this channel. I also have a range test with this car in an almost exactly the same configuration, but this time I am going to do a full review of the car. And it's going to be a first person kind of shot, a POV review. I hope you guys enjoy this new format, so let's go. What is the EQS? Well, it is the electric S-Class from Mercedes-Benz. It is the electric version, if you will, of the S-Class, even though the two models, the S-Class and the EQS, are completely different these days. They are built on different platforms, but in terms of size and refinement, they are very similar. As you can see, the shape of the car resembles a teardrop in order to make it as efficient as possible. At launch, this was the most efficient car, the most efficient car in the world. It had a drag coefficient of 0.209. Well, in the meantime, some controversy issued with Neo and with Lucid Air and so on, but it is at the moment one of the most efficient cars in the world. And this shape might not be to everyone's taste, but it has a purpose behind it. It's supposed to look like this to make it as efficient as possible and cover as much ground as possible. This car also has the AMG package. You can see those add-ons at the bottom of the car over there, and in my book, it doesn't look that bad. I mean, it turns a lot of heads when you drive it around town, and people are very curious about it. You'll also notice the 21-inch wheels, and this is the 580 model, the EQS 580 4Matic, and that means it has, as standard, an air suspension fitted to it, and it is incredibly comfortable. Furthermore, all EQS models get rear wheel steering, but you can also get an optional package that increases the degree at which the rear wheels can turn. So as standard, you get a 4.7 degree turn, but as an optional extra, they can turn up to 10 degrees on the rear axle. In terms of size, this car is a bit longer than the regular S-Class. It has a length of just a bit over 5.2 meters, and it is incredibly spacious. Now let's talk about the rear end for a bit. Also very clear cut and with every single shape rounded off in order to make the car as aerodynamic as possible. We have a diffuser at the bottom, really nicely executed tail lights, and if you open the boot, this is actually a tailgate compared to the S-Class, which has a normal boot. You have 610 liters of storage in the back over here, but if you fold the seats, you get up to 1770 liters of storage. Let's hop inside for a moment. Let's see how the space looks like in the back. So this is the kind of room you're supposed to expect from a car in this class. I have plenty of knee room, no issues whatsoever. The driver's seat in front of me is adjusted to my comfortable driving position. I'm 6 feet tall and about 250 pounds, and I have a lot of room over here in the back. Maybe it's not as luxurious as in the S-Class, but it is very roomy back here, and you do not have a lot of headroom. I am touching the headliner with my head in the back of this car. But that's the price you pay for making the roofline so low in order to make the car as aerodynamic as possible. Let's hop in the front for a moment. Notice these flush door handles. They retract whenever you set off, and well, this is what the interior looks like up front. Very nicely done. And over here we have the hyperscreen, the famous hyperscreen, which is basically 3 screens into one. We have a 12.3-inch screen over here, another one for the passenger, and a 17.7-inch screen right here in the middle. Basically what you have here is the MBUX system over here, but with a different shape. It works really nicely, and you can configure a lot of stuff. It is incredibly intelligent. It has everything you could possibly need, from a great interior lighting setup to a fingerprint scanner over here, which allows you to configure a lot of different profiles, up to 7 profiles. Basically, when you get in the car and you put your fingerprint over here, the car adapts every single setup in the car, every single setting in the car to your preferred one. So up to 7 people can drive this car, and they don't have to use a separate account, and they don't have to set up the settings of the car every time they get in. The most impressive stuff about it, as you might have heard, is that you have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay on this entire screen over here. It's one of the biggest implementations I've ever seen, and it works without a wire, so really nicely done. Also, the screen at the right side for the passenger is only activated when somebody is sitting over here. So right now you can see there's no button over here, but if somebody would sit here, you would have a button and you could control everything about it. So basically this screen allows you to control every single function this screen offers you, except for maybe adjusting the driver's seat, which would be dangerous while on the move. Now let's set off, look at this infotainment, at this instrument cluster. It looks absolutely brilliant, but you have more than one setup. You can go for understated, you can go for sport we had before, and classic. You can also use navigation as a screen. Right now my phone is connected to the car, and we are getting the navigation system from Waze, the navigation instructions from Waze. But if you were to use the car's onboard navigation system, the map would be displayed over here. So now that we set off, let's talk about the specs. As I mentioned, this car is the 580 4Matic, which basically means that this is the most powerful one you can get, except for the AMG models. Basically what you have is a setup of 2 electric motors, one on the front axle, one on the rear axle, that can deliver up to 523 horsepower and 855 Newton meters of torque at most. So that should allow this 2.5 ton car to reach 100 kilometers an hour in 4.3 seconds. But of course that's not the point of this car, even though it does accelerate nicely and it does drive incredibly well. The point of this car is to be as efficient as possible. To that end, I should probably mention the batteries on board of this car. So they are hidden in the floor. The total capacity of the battery in the floor is 120 kilowatt hours, but you can actually use 108 of those. And Mercedes-Benz says you could cover over 600 kilometers with a single charge. During my time with the car, I noticed some different numbers, but I did get quite close to the official figures. You can find my real life range test with this car over here. Now what you see right now in the screen is the fact that the car has 2 infrared cameras over here, and it cannot see my eyes because I have a GoPro in front of my face. So it is asking me to adjust the steering wheel. It thinks that the steering wheel gets in the way of those cameras. The cameras are there in order to make sure that you are paying attention to the road. So that's why the car is asking you to adjust your steering wheel. Furthermore, the EQS also has a system that adjusts your seat automatically if you wanted to, by adding your height into the infotainment system. It doesn't really work that well, to be honest. I used it earlier today, and I think it depends on the shape of your body. I'm 6 feet tall, as I told you, and the car adjusted the seat a bit too high for my taste, but I do have a long torso and shorter legs, so it will depend on your configuration. Now I'm not sure you guys can see the head-up display over here. It's kind of hard to get on camera, but it's right in front of me, and it is incredibly well done. You can actually use it with polarized glasses, which is something not every car manufacturer can boast with. Most cars and most head-up display systems have an issue with polarized glasses, but in this case that's not a problem. And it uses augmented reality. Basically it shows you the distance to the car in front of you. It shows a red line whenever you're going over the separating line between the lanes, and you're not signaling to warn you that something is going on. If you're on a highway, it will show you whenever you're changing lane. This car has a very intelligent driving assistant on board, and it will change lanes for you, and it will show you a green arrow whenever it does that for you with the observed path of the car, predicted path of the car. Quite an interesting feature. But let's get back to the range of the car. You can easily get 400 kilometers out of it, especially during summer days like today. If you're careful with the throttle, I guess you can get over 600 kilometers easily with it as well. So that's something you might want to check out and keep in mind, because this car is quite efficient, but it's also quite fast. So yeah, and I love the way it sounds when you accelerate hard. If you put it in sport mode, it sounds even better, as you can probably hear. And it's pretty awesome the way the instrument cluster turns red, and the lights inside the cabin turn red as well. Quite awesome, as I said. Now, driving the car is quite an experience in itself, not only because it feels like a spaceship, but because it is incredibly comfortable. That air suspension just irons out everything on the road and makes the car feel a lot lighter on its feet than you would think. This is a 2.5 ton car, I repeat, but it's not just the suspension that makes it feel light, it is also the integral active steering, which also helps out in the bends. The wheels will turn in the opposite direction of the front ones. The rear wheels will spin in the opposite direction of the front ones. At slower speeds and at higher speeds, they will move in the same direction for better maneuverability, and it is quite impressive how it works. It is also very quiet and refined in here. Even though we have frameless windows all around, you couldn't really tell because they are double glazed, and it is the shape of the car being so aerodynamic reduces the wind noise by quite a lot and makes this car amazing. I actually measured the interior's noise on this car at 130 kilometers an hour, and I noticed that it was well under 70 decibels, which is amazing overall. The build quality is brilliant, but I do have some gripes with this door handle over here. Some areas do squeak a little and don't feel as tight and as well put together as you would expect from Mercedes-Benz, especially on an S-Class, but overall it is quite okay. The main highlight of this car, though, is the comfort it offers alongside the performance it offers. It's basically a two-faced beast. You can drive it in eco or comfort mode all day long, just zooming around, trying to get the best mileage out of it. Then all of a sudden you can press on the go faster pedal, I almost said gas pedal, and just set off while hitting your head against the headrest and holding on for dear life. It is quite amazing how this car accelerates and how it does its job. So, what else can I say? Well, I should probably point out the rivals this car has. For now, I only see one. I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate in the comments because I only consider the BMW i7 a rival for this car. Some people would say the Tesla Model S would be a rival for this car. I don't agree. The level of refinement you find in an EQS, the level of quietness, comfort, fit and finish, just look at this interior. You cannot possibly compare it to a Tesla. Tesla does great electric cars, but they are not premium models in my book. They are definitely not premium models. They still have a lot of work to do to get to the refinement of an air suspension like this one, or a regular suspension as well, because the Model 3 or the Model Y are not necessarily known for their great suspension and comfort. So there's a lot of work to be done before they can be compared to Mercedes-Benz or BMW. So the i7 is the one rival I see for this car. For now, I don't have access to it. It has just only been launched, so the first reviews will come at the end of the year, so we'll have to wait until then to see if BMW did a good job at trying to keep up with Mercedes in this space. So for now, this car is basically unchallenged. Yeah, there is Lucid Air. I like the way the Lucid Air looks and feels like, but I didn't get to test drive it, and it's still quite far from being available worldwide and in huge numbers. So that could also be a rival for this car, but we still have to wait to see if Lucid can actually deliver on its promises and on the cars it has scheduled to make and already sold to some very eager customers. The pricing for this car, well, roughly 120,000 euros, around that space. That's the starting price, excluding, of course, countries where you have a huge luxury tax and so on. This car has a price tag of 163,000 euros, but it does have some optionals ticked on. So yeah, that's about it. They are expensive, but I'm telling you right now, this is an exquisite experience overall, not just a great car. That said, this has been my review of the new Mercedes EQS, or to be perfectly accurate, the new Mercedes, the new EQS from Mercedes EQ. That's the official naming of the car, but I'm just gonna call it EQS. So this is it. This has been my review. It's a point of view review. I'm looking forward to you guys telling me if you enjoyed it or not. Until next time, don't forget to like, share, and of course subscribe, and don't forget to feed your passions. Ciao.